is called Atma Sayam Yoga, which means the yoga of meditation. Okay, this verse begins with Sri Krishna, the Supreme Being, describing Karma Yoga, the yoga of action. Is Samkhya Yoga the path of wisdom greater, or is the path of karma action greater? Is yoga greater, or is giving up actions, renunciation greater? Arjun keeps asking these questions over and over again. In the first chapter, as a summary, Arjun told Sri Krishna he didn't want to go to war, and he gave him his reasons. In the second chapter, the Supreme Being told Arjun that running away from war did not befit him. In the 17th verse of the second chapter, Arjun accepted himself as a pupil of Sri Krishna. In 7th verse, he said, Shishyateham sadimam tvam prapnam. From the 11th verse of the second chapter, the Supreme Being described the mortality of the body and the immortality of the soul. He said that if Arjun is thinking that all of these people are going to die on the battlefield, in reality it's the bodies that are dying, because the soul can never die. This is because the soul is unborn, eternal, permanent and primeval. Najayate nirta kada vachin nayan bhutva pavitata bhuva ajo nitya shasvatoham purano nahate hanya mane sharire. Meaning, it is only the body that can be destroyed, the soul can never be destroyed. Shri Krishna described the immortality and the omnipresence of the soul. Then, Shri Krishna explained Sankhya philosophy between the 11th to the 30th verses of the second chapter for Gita, for those who are inclined towards metaphysics and spirituality. Then, Shri Krishna said, Swadharma vibicha vamaksha na vikam tupi mahi. Meaning, it was Arjun's swadharma, his duty, righteous duty as a warrior, and therefore, the despondency that Arjun had fallen to, in fact that he was running away from the battlefield, was not right. Shri Krishna then said, Sukhina Kshatriya Partha Labhayante Yudab Misham. Fortunate are those warriors who have the opportunity to fight in a battle like this. The Supreme Being described Swadharma duty and told Arjun that he should perform karma in the famous verse, which is Karmanya Adhikaraste Mafale Shukadachana. So it says in the verse 47 of chapter 2, to action alone you have your right and never thought to the fruits. Shri Krishna told Arjun to go to battle. When Shri Krishna was describing this, the question arose in Arjun's mind about whether it's really possible for there to be a human being like what Shri Krishna is describing, and if so, how can one recognize him? Arjun asked the Supreme Being the question, Sita pragna yasaka pasha samadishta sakesva siddhateti kim prashvasi taki mishta vajakim. The Supreme Being, how does this person sit? How does this person walk? He's asking for outside things. The Supreme Being gave the answer to this in the last few verses of the second chapter, when he described Sthita Prajna, which is a person settled in intelligence, as Vaja yadi kamam sarvan pathanagatan atmanyeva atmanam ishta Sthita Prajna yasadechte. He said that it's not about what you do on the outside that determines whether you're a person settled in intelligence. It's when a person puts away all the desires of the mind and his spirit is content in the self. That was verse 54 of chapter 2. At the end of the second chapter, the Supreme Being said, Esha Brahmistiti Partha Nenam Prapa Vimoyati. This is the divine state, Brahmistiti, the beauty of God, or Partha, Arjun. Having attained thereto, one is not again bewildered. At the beginning of the third chapter, Arjun asked the Supreme Being the question, Vyamishchaya Vakaya Mudi Maya Vasmanre, meaning, with an apparently confused utterance, you seem to bewilder my intelligence. Arjun said that Shri Krishna sometimes says that karma, action, is greater, and then sometimes he's saying that the path of knowledge is greater. Arjun asked what in reality he should do. He said, Takedam Vadanisha Yena Shreyo Atmana, meaning, tell me decisively the one thing by which I can attain to the highest good. The Supreme Being gave the third chapter on Karma Yoga, which is the yoga of action. He explained what karma action is. Then in the fourth chapter, Shri Krishna took this concept further and said that karma should be performed as a yagna. There's no direct translation of yagna in English, but he said, Lokesh samgaraham evam si pasyan kutamarasi, meaning perform actions for the maintenance of the world, for the well-being of the world, which is loka samgraha. He told Arjun to perform actions for society and not for himself. The Supreme Being said the same thing again in the 5th chapter, and in the 6th chapter, Arjun's mind is maybe not yet resolved. At the end of the 5th chapter, the Supreme Being said that he's the enjoyer of all sacrifices, of all yagnas and austerities that the individual being performs. And he's the great Lord of all the worlds and the friend of all the beings. And that if one knows this, then he, the Muni, the sage, attains peace. He said, Bhoganatam yagna tapasya salata mahashvar sarvagam saha bhutanam natvaram shanti nuchati. That peace can still not be seen on Arjun's eyes, and the intended consequences could not be seen. That is why Shri Krishna began saying the 6th chapter. It's a chapter that Shri Krishna began saying. The whole Gita is beautiful, yet if some of these chapters are Guruji's and my favorites, then its 6th chapter is one of them. The yoga of the 6th chapter is especially necessary in today's times. During his Srimad Bhagavat and other kathas, many people come to him and ask him many questions. Of these, the question is asked over and over again, that whenever it's said that during discourses that one should have devotion to God and they should perform dhyan, meditation, then how can they do so? How can they perform dhyan? They say that they perform worship every day. They do mara, which is chanting of God's name with the prayer beads in the hands. They worship God and perform all the family rituals that have been taught as well as other rituals, yet their minds do not become focused on God. They say that the minds do not remain steady on a Supreme Being. They ask, what's the process of how this can be done? Out of all the questions Guruji gets asked, 40% of the questions are like this. How can one make the mind steady, and how can one perform dhyan, meditation? Guruji really likes the 6th chapter because God shows us how to perform dhyan, meditation in the 6th chapter. That's why we're going to perform dhyan. We're going to apply the methods that Shri Krishna has taught in this chapter. How does one meditate? Shri Krishna has shown us how in the 6th chapter called Atma Sayam Yoga, the yoga of meditation. And we will also learn how to meditate during the meditation sessions over the next few days. Shri Krishna begins giving his guidance of how to perform dhyan from the 10th verse of this chapter. The Gita is a very practical scripture and it can't work without practice. That's what the Gita shows us here. Dhyan, meditation, is such an activity that leads to a person finding the gift lying within them. It makes this gift appear. We're all gifted. Many people say this about other people, that they're gifted and that they've got the grace of God. Not only particular people, specific people, but all of us are gifted. However, this gift is packed inside us. We do not know what is inside us. What the Gita does is that the Gita is a process to unwrap this gift. It teaches us to manifest this gift that the Supreme Soul has placed within us. While you don't open this box, then how can you know what's inside? The activity of dhyan, meditation, is a process to unwrap. God has placed a very beautiful gift inside us, and we're going to open it, and the 6th chapter will show us how to do this. Let's go on to the first verse.